You ever stop and wonder, what does healthy actually mean? Well, today we're diving into something that affects every single one of us, the real science behind how we measure our own health. We're going to break down nutritional assessment, so let's get right into it.
Right? We throw these words around all the time, but how do we get past just a gut feeling or a guess? How do we get a real objective look at where our body stands nutritionally? That's the big question we're here to answer. Okay, so before we even start talking about how to measure health, we first have to get a handle on just how critical nutrition is. I mean, it's not just about having energy. It's literally the blueprint for how our bodies grow, function, and really truly thrive.
And the impact here, it's staggering. Nutrition literally shapes our physical size and how we grow, especially as kids. It fuels our brain development, which has a direct effect on how well we can learn and perform at our jobs. And yeah, it can even play a role in our entire life expectancy. Pretty much every single aspect of who we are is touched by what we eat. I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it's so simple but so spot on. Just think of your body as this high-performance engine. You wouldn't put cheap, low-grade gas in a sports car and expect it to run well, would you? Of course not. The exact same idea applies to us. Nutrition is that premium fuel.
So, if nutrition is the fuel, how do we actually check on the engine's health? Well, that brings us to the key concept for this whole explainer, nutritional status. This is the term the pros use, and it's what we're going to unpack. To put it really simply, your nutritional status is all about balance. It's the balance between the nutrients you're taking in and what your body actually needs to do its job right. It's basically a direct report card on how effective your diet is.
And you know, this isn't just some invisible internal thing. Good nutritional status actually shows on the outside. We're talking about things you can see, like healthy skin, bright, clear eyes, a strong body structure, and even stuff like having the energy to be active and just having a more positive outlook.
Okay, so we know what good nutrition can look like, but how do we measure it, objectively? Well, it's time to open up the professional's toolkit, and there's a really easy way to remember it. ABCD.
Let's kick things off with A for anthropometric measurements. Now, I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but it's really just a scientific way of saying measurements of the human body. This is almost always the first and most common step.
So what's in this part of the toolkit? Well, you've got the basics you're probably already familiar with, like weight and height, but it also includes calculations like BMI and really specific circumferences, like head, chest, and mid-arm, which are super important for tracking growth in kids. And it even includes things like skinfold thickness to get a better idea of body fat. And by taking that height and weight data, we can calculate the body mass index, or BMI. It's a really common tool that gives us a quick way to put weight status into these general categories, like underweight, healthy, or overweight. Think of it as a really useful starting point. But, and this is a really big but, these body measurements are just one piece of a much larger puzzle. A number like BMI can be helpful, for sure, but it doesn't tell us a thing about what's actually happening inside the body. To get that complete picture, we need the B, C, and D from our toolkit. Okay, so B is for biochemical. This is where we get super precise data from lab tests on blood or urine. Think of it like a mechanic popping the hood of your car to check the fluid levels. We're checking for specific vitamin or mineral levels. Then C is for clinical. This is a physical exam where a doctor basically becomes a health detective, looking for visible clues of a deficiency, things like brittle hair or pale skin that tell a story. And finally, D is for dietary. This is exactly what it sounds like, looking at what you actually eat, maybe by keeping a food journal, to connect the dots between your diet and everything else. So the most important thing to get here is this. No single method tells the whole story. You can't just look at your weight or just one blood test. The real power comes from putting all four of them together, the A, B, C, and D, to create this complete 360-degree view of your nutritional health. Now, after going through this whole toolkit, the goal isn't just to understand the science, right? It's to start thinking about how this applies to you. You can think of these four areas as the different parts of your own personal health scorecard. So let's just recap those four pillars one last time. You've got A for your body's measurements, B for the hard data you get from lab tests, C for the physical signs and clues your body is giving you, and D for the reality of your daily diet. Put them all together, and that's your picture. So we'll leave you with this thought. You now have the exact framework that professionals use to look at health. You have the tools to ask better questions and understand your own body on a much deeper level. So the question is, what might your own personal health scorecard be telling you?